Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
And breaking news just minutes ago. Before this newscast, we learned new information about the two deputies who shot a man in Nash County. The role mental health may have played in this confrontation.
And we're really starting to warm things up, feeling on the steamy side out here now. I'll show you when it will reach tropical and when it will feel more like 100.
And it's the first day of school for tens of thousands of students in our viewing area. A look at some of the changes greeting students in the new school year.
With breaking news this noon hour, we now know the name of the man who was shot by two deputies in Nash County. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Authorities were responding to a domestic dispute early this morning near Regis Store Road. And that's when they say James Breheim fired a weapon at them. WRAL's Chelsea Donovan just attended a news conference with the sheriff. Chelsea, what did you learn about the deputies and the man who was shot?
Yeah, Renee, as you mentioned, Sheriff Keystone here in Nash County holding that press conference just moments ago, and we're learning more about the fact that two of his deputies around midnight shot a man on Regis Store Road. That man was shot several times, and we understand right now that he is in stable condition at Wake Med in Raleigh. Let's show you that suspect that fired upon the deputies, 52-year-old James Breheim. Sheriff Keystone says that his estranged wife had gone down to the magistrate's office to take out a warrant against him because she felt her life was in danger. It was then that the sheriff's office decided to send deputies to the home due to the increasing threat. Now, Sheriff Stone said Breheim came out of the back of his house with a handgun and started firing. Two of his deputies, Sergeant Miguel Salazar and Lieutenant David Walker, fired several shots. Stone says Breheim is known to the sheriff's office, and they have responded numerous times to the homes on Regis Store Road for domestic calls.
They had responded to it for a situation earlier in the year where there were threats of self-hurt. And that's one of the things where if you have mental health facilities and things of that nature that are available, you can get people help.
And Stone went on to say that he believes that the suspect could have been under the influence with drugs and alcohol as well as a mental health condition. Now, those two deputies that fired their weapons, they're currently on administrative leave with pay. That is standard protocol, as is the SBI coming in now to conduct an investigation. Sheriff Stone also saying that when the suspect is released from the hospital, he'll be facing numerous charges. Live in Nash County, Chelsea Donovan, WRAL News.
We also now know the name of the woman who was hit and killed in an early morning crash. Police say it happened just before 2 this morning on Glenwood Avenue near Brownlee Drive. It's right near the north entrance to Umstead Park. Officers say Chastity Dean was walking across Glenwood when she was hit by a Honda Accord. She was not crossing in a marked crosswalk. No charges have been filed yet, but the crash remains under investigation. A man charged in the oldest capital murder case in Wake County will spend the rest of his life in prison. Brandon Hill was caught on camera shooting and killing Dwayne Garvey outside the America's Value Inn. This was back in 2016. Wake County prosecutors pursued the death penalty in the case, but the ACLU stepped in.
Heat is back this week, starting this afternoon with highs in the 90s. Elizabeth Gardner is on the WRAL weather patio with a look at why our pattern is changing. Elizabeth.
It's all about the wind direction. And over the last, almost a week, we've had a nice flow coming out of the north, right out of Canada. We saw some nice drops in our temperature and dew point last week. But that is all about to change. We're going to see our wind now starting to come out of the south this afternoon. And that's going to help to really warm things up. It's already 86 degrees. And our dew point, it's interesting. Our dew point at 11 a.m. was at 68. That was pretty high. That gets us into the muggy zone. But as we get into the afternoon, we'll likely start to see that drop. And we did see it drop 8 degrees just now at noon here. So it's back down to 60, which is actually okay. But temperatures are really going to be warming up now as we climb on up into the low 90s getting into this afternoon. So just remember that we'll have that to deal with as we get through the next several days, really most of the week. Already again, 86 in Durham and Raleigh's 84 in Fayetteville, 84 degrees in Clinton. Our temperatures right now are between 3 and 5 degrees warmer than this time yesterday, but it's really the muggy meter. Yesterday, the muggy meter was down around Comfy. So it's moving into tolerable to steamy today. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it's up at tropical. And so that's just going to feel like, the most miserable part of summer. As a matter of fact, take a look at this. 96 tomorrow, 98 Wednesday, 97 Thursday, and 93 Friday. And our morning lows are back into the 70s. So just don't even have a chance to really cool off. So, of course, the heat index with that is going to feel a lot higher, too. We're going to see the heat index most likely Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday easily into the triple digits. 104 Wednesday and 104 on Thursday. We do have a change in the pattern getting into the holiday weekend. I'll show you what's coming next. Coming up.
Cumberland County and Durham Public School students are back in classrooms today. Wake County students start tomorrow. We've been tracking the first day of school all across the viewing area.
We have team coverage for you this noon. Gilbert Bays is live in Cumberland County, but we start in Durham this noon with WRAL's Monica Casey. Monica, a lot of changes in Durham Public Schools this year.
That's right, and this building here behind me is one of them. 500 students walked through these doors for the first time into the new Murray-Massenburg Elementary School. The students here today aren't the only ones attending a new school in Durham. DPS has implemented its Growing Together redistricting plan for elementary school students starting this semester. That plan has a goal of more equity in schools. Another change this year, free breakfast and lunch for all students at every school. That's something the new Murray-Massenburg principal, Mishinda Middleton Brown, says is vital.
No one is left behind. That is, we talk about that all the time, but that is a way to put it in practice. If you don't want anyone left behind, make sure that our kids have everything that they need to start their day and end it on a positive note. And that starts with the basics.
Another change this year, part of the Growing Together plan, includes getting STEM and global languages in the elementary school curriculum. Now, we know Durham has 7,000 bus stops, and the district tells us that all of the routes are covered, but they have had to use substitute drivers to completely fill everything, meaning if just one driver isn't able to make it to work one day, it could impact routes. We've reached out to the district to ask how things went this morning, and we are waiting to hear back. Live in Durham, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
At this hour, about 50,000 students are back in 86 Cumberland County schools for the first day of class. WRAL's Gilbert Bays is live outside a school in Fayetteville after speaking with school leaders about a new security system that's going to be installed. Good afternoon, Gilbert.
Good afternoon, Renee. Everybody's excited about the system that you're talking about that's going to be installed here in Cumberland County schools. It is a system that's already being used in other school systems and businesses across North Carolina. We're going to talk about that in a second, but let me show you how students arrived at Spring Lake Middle School this morning. We saw them getting off school buses this morning, entering the building through a crowd of cheering school leaders and community supporters. But in a few days, they plan to install the open gate security system in all the middle and high schools in Cumberland County. Now, the system is non-invasive, which means students can walk through without anyone having to touch them or having to them dump all of their book bags contents onto a table, and that will save some time. It can detect weapons just like any other metal detector system, and the system is portable, so it can be easily moved from the buildings to football fields if necessary. Spring Lake Middle School has 2 entrances that will need to be protected.
Front entrance and the bus entrance will both have those systems, and we definitely have our staff already prepared for that. We've talked to them about it before the kids came back, so we'll have 2 staff members on every one. Definitely excited about knowing that our kids will be able to come in and not worry about somebody having something they shouldn't have in school.
And I spoke with Superintendent Dr. Marvin Conley as students were arriving this morning. He says the open gate system is just one tool that the school system is going to be using this school year to keep students safe all year long, as a matter of fact. Now, that system, though, has not been installed yet. They plan to install it in a few days, beginning in September. Reporting live here in Cumberland County, Gilbert Bays, WRAL News.
Okay, Wake County students, it will be your turn to head back to school tomorrow. And we are bringing you team coverage starting at 4:30 in the morning. We have you covered on everything from your morning commute to a look at how bus routes are running on the first day. Again, that starts tomorrow right here on WRAL.
Nice class photo right there. At the college level, some schools say an overhaul with the financial aid application process known as FAFSA caused major problems this year, resulting in a drop in enrollment. About 75% of private colleges and universities say the FAFSA issues changed the makeup of this year's freshman class. Not only are classes smaller, but they are less diverse than in years past. The Education Department says people can start applying for federal financial aid by December 1st for the 2025-26 school year. Nearly half of working Americans say they are likely to search for a new job in the next 12 months. A new bank rate survey finds younger people are more likely to make a career change, including looking for a new job, quitting, relocating, or starting their own business. Flexibility and pay are top priorities, with more than 40% planning to ask for a raise, different hours, or being able to work remotely more often.
Next at noon, fire at a London apartment building. The injuries reported as hundreds of firefighters fought the flames.
Also, flash flooding in Arizona. We'll tell you how a Raleigh couple was able to narrowly escape their hiking trip.
Plus, 2 NASA missions at 12:30. One is a first for private space flight. The other, an update on the extended stay at the International Space Station.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Welcome back. Give you a live look at Carolina Beach. And oh, if you would want to take a road trip now, get out there. What a beautiful day it would be. You'll have to find a spot on the sand there. It's starting to get crowded already. You're watching WRAL News, available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
2 people are being treated for injuries after flames raced through an apartment building in East London. We're told the building was evacuated and crews are making sure no one was left behind. More than 200 firefighters battled that blaze on the ground and overhead. The cause of the fire is unknown. At least 2 people are dead. Dozens more are on high alert after wildfires in Brazil continue to rage. 7,300 government workers and volunteers have been deployed across the state to contain the advance and put out those fires. 2 employees working at an industrial plant died Friday while trying to fight back a fire. And for now, the flames have not reached Sao Paulo.
Prosecutors have now opened a criminal investigation in connection with the sinking of a luxury yacht off the coast of Sicily. They say initial investigations indicate that crew behavior and the handling of the boat were responsible for the sinking, but that the investigation was not aimed at any individual. 7 people died, including British tech tycoon Mike Lynch and his daughter. 15 survived, including Lynch's wife, whose company owns the vessel. The next step is to raise the vessel from the seabed to continue the investigation. The governor of Alaska has issued a disaster declaration after at least 1 person was killed during a landslide. Power lines and trees came crashing down in the town of Ketchikan Sunday. Evacuation orders are currently in place because officials say another landslide is possible. Ketchikan's mayor says he's never seen a landslide this bad in his 65 years of living there.
A North Carolina couple is grateful to be safe this noon hour after nearly getting caught in flash flooding in Arizona over the weekend. Shruti Chopra and her husband survived this trying ordeal while on a hiking trip. WRAL's Ken Smith is here to walk us through what happened and how that couple got rescued, Ken.
Jeff, the Chopras, whose Facebook page indicated that they live in Raleigh, were among more than 100 people rescued after severe flooding destroyed parts of the Havasupai Creek in Arizona. Shruti Chopra says they knew rain was in the forecast, but she and her husband didn't think that they were in danger. She says they ducked into a cave with another family to wait for the storm to pass. But when a man came by and told them to get to higher ground, that's when they knew something was wrong. For 3 hours, they crossed rivers, formed human chains, and hacked through thorny bushes until they reached a nearby village. We heard from another hiker who described how quickly the weather conditions changed.
It was beautiful 1 foot, 2 foot blue water and, beautiful waterfalls. And within 45 minutes, it turned into a life and death situation. The flood came so fast.
Well, the National Guard and people who live near that area evacuated Chopra and other hikers. MEMS warns if anyone is planning to be in the Grand Canyon and the floor of the Grand Canyon, to be specific, during monsoon season, which it is, be weather aware and heed any and all flash flood warnings. As for the Chopra, Shruti Chopra on her Facebook page thanked the National Guard, the Havasupai people, and all the others who got her husband, and all those other tourists to safety.
How quickly things change in an instant. Ken, thanks for that. And the level of response there, pretty impressive.
Right. And just the quick thinking by the folks in that situation to form those human chains. And it's all about survival.
Some of our changes weather-wise haven't come so quickly. We've been easing into it, and we knew the heat was coming back. And today it starts up once again, Elizabeth.
Yep, it feels like it out here. It was such a pleasure to be out here during the new newscast last week. It felt so nice. Our dew point climbed a little and now has dropped, and we do tend to see that during the afternoon fairly regularly. We tend to have a little bit more moisture in the atmosphere sometimes first half of the day, and then with the days heating, sometimes it starts to dry out a little bit. So that's what we're seeing. Our dew point's at 60, and of course that number is a measure of moisture in the atmosphere, and 60 is not so bad, but boy, the temperatures are really going to start to warm up. So 86 right now. We're headed to 92 for the high this afternoon. Right now it is 81 up in Roxborough. It's 83 in Goldsboro, 84 degrees in Fayetteville. So it is definitely a warm start. We do have some showers and thunderstorms in our forecast for late week. And now it's been a while. It's really, we started to dry out a little bit. We've seen plenty of rain. We're not looking at a drought situation, but thanks to Logan Whitehead for sending us this view across the way of a thunderstorm in Scotland Neck. All of us will be seeing a bit more of that in a few days from now. Go to WRAL.com. Search Weather Watchers and send us some photos. We'd love to see what's happening in your backyard. For now, high pressure is going to keep rain to our north and certainly all of the severe threat. But eventually, by the time we get to Thursday and Friday, that will translate southward into our area. Not that we're going to see severe weather, but we'll get back into kind of the potential for some thunderstorms. This afternoon, 92 in Raleigh, 92 in Durham, 92 in Fayetteville. It is the first day of school for some of the kids in our viewing area. They'll be running to get home off that bus, I'm sure. It's going to be toasty. Our normal high is 88. We're looking at 96 tomorrow, 98 on Wednesday, 97 on Thursday. So we get back into some of that big heat. And of course, our dew points are going to really climb. So it puts us in the tropical zone for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's going to make it feel really hot. It's going to feel like 104 on Wednesday and Thursday. And that puts us fairly close to a heat advisory. 105 or so is typically the threshold for the Weather Service to issue a heat advisory for us. So we'll be watching out for that. It's certainly a possibility. 68 is our normal low, and we're looking at 75 Thursday and Friday. For example, last week we had a string of mornings in the 50s. We came close to some record lows last week, and now we're looking at those temperatures 25 degrees warmer this week. Take a look at our futurecast wind direction. With all this beautiful weather that we've seen lately, it's been because we've had a flow coming out of the north. And that flow coming out of the north, of course, has kept things nice and cool and dry. And that will change over the next 24 hours. Everything starts to shift to southerly, and high pressure will be building in and helping to really heat things up. Back to the west, a lot of wildfires across the west. In this position, that high pressure system is sending a little bit of that our way. You might notice later this afternoon it looks a little hazy. Looks okay to me right here on the patio right now. We're not looking at air quality issues. Our air quality likely to be moderate today, and that's a pretty typical air quality for summertime. Checking out our 7-day forecast. The heat's the big story tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then it changes to thunderstorms. Our temperatures will cool down in time for the holiday weekend, but you might have plans for the Labor Day weekend, so we'll go over that potential for rain coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. More cases of West Nile virus have popped up in North Carolina in the past month. Coming up at 4, we are looking into ways you can protect yourself and your family from mosquito-borne illnesses.
Then at 5, less than 3 weeks after a tornado damaged Springfield Middle School in Wilson, students there are headed back to the classroom. The changes being made as they start the new school year and start the rebuilding process. Well, still ahead this noon, realtors are banking on an interest rate cut to help boost the housing market, while some Americans say home ownership may still be out of reach.
And a new study highlights how people with dementia receive care across the U.S. Coming up in our next half hour, where you live could determine when you're diagnosed. The U.S. housing market has been relatively frozen over the past year or so, but there could be a light at the end of the driveway.
John Lawrence explains what that could mean for the market.
Home buyers in the U.S. may soon get a break from the increased mortgage rates that have been swirling around the housing market for roughly the past 2 years. First and foremost, the Federal Reserve is expected to drop interest rates next month.
The time has come for policy to adjust.
Also, mortgage financing giant Freddie Mac recently reported the regular 30-year fixed-rate mortgage has dropped to a low not seen in over a year. And new home sales rose more than 10% in July from June, according to the Census Bureau and the Department of Housing and Urban Development. However,
I see $400 going towards my student loans, and I see $545 going for HOA, and I see groceries averaging about $150 a week.
Affordability issues still exist for many Americans, from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to the state of Colorado.
The average home price in the Denver metro area, $600,000. Why? Because it's a great place to live. Why does it cost that much? Because we've artificially constrained the ability to build housing because of government interference.
Existing home prices in July were higher by more than 4% compared to 12 months prior, according to the National Association of Realtors, which means even with the loosening of the housing market, it could still take a while before some people are able to afford their own homes.
That was John Lawrence reporting, and both presidential candidates have proposed plans to help boost housing supply. Vice President Kamala Harris wants to see 3 million new homes built. Former President Donald Trump is proposing the use of federal land to create more housing units.
Could a debate over hot mics derail the debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump? We'll examine the rules that could prevent the candidates from facing off.
Plus, SpaceX prepares for 2 critical missions. One involves a historic spacewalk, while the other could bring 2 stranded astronauts back to Earth. Here are your winning NC Education lottery numbers on your screen right now. We'll be right back.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your #1 source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are set to debate on September 10th on ABC. But there's fresh doubt that the face-off will happen.
Yeah, today, both candidates expressed objections to the rules, including whether to mute the microphones or have a full arena audience. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez reports on how both camps are focusing their efforts on key battleground states.
This morning, with just 71 days until the election, the presidential campaign is ramping up. Early voting starts next month in at least 6 states, and the Harris campaign is now announcing a bus tour this week to battleground Georgia, while the Trump campaign, fresh off an endorsement from third-party candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
I was surprised to discover that we are aligned on many key issues.
Is planning to head this week to critical swing states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania.
We're going to defeat Comrade Kamala Harris, and we're going to win back our beautiful White House.
Harris's campaign and its allies say they've raised a record $540 million since President Biden dropped out a month ago. For its part, the Trump campaign says it raked in almost $139 million last month. Now, with the Democratic National Convention behind her, there is mounting pressure on Vice President Harris to hold a formal press conference or a major sit-down interview. While on Meet the Press, Trump's VP pick, Senator J.D. Vance, telling NBC's Kristen Welker his running mate would not impose a federal ban on abortion.
So he would
veto a federal abortion ban?
I think he would. He said that explicitly that he would.
And even as Trump casts doubts on election results.
Do you have faith the 2024 election will be free and fair?
I do, Kristen. I do think it's going to be free and fair, and we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that happens.
In a new interview, the former president was asked whether he'd appoint billionaire Elon Musk to his cabinet.
I'd put him in the cabinet, absolutely, but I don't know how he could do that with all the things he's got going.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center over the weekend, the Chapel Hill Courthouse was vandalized. Around 9 p.m. on Saturday night, a group demonstrated at Peace and Justice Plaza. Around 9:45, they marched down Franklin Street to Graham Street, then down East Rosemary back to Peace and Justice. After it was over, it was discovered the courthouse had been vandalized. You can see the pictures here. Profanities and words calling for violence were painted on the pillars and doors. Town crews have been working to remove this paint, and District Attorney Jeff Neiman called it despicable. He said calls for violence and murder have no place in this community. Law enforcement officers risk their lives every day to keep us safe, including the individuals at this rally. I only hope those responsible can be identified.
One person is dead after a single car crash in Sampson County. Troopers say the car was driving south on U.S. Highway 13 early Sunday morning and ran off the road. The car went down a hill and into a swampy area. The driver has not been identified. Troopers are investigating a crash that happened on U.S. 64 between Knightdale and Wendell on Sunday afternoon. Video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker shows a badly damaged car with the trunk smashed in. We've reached out to troopers for more information about what led to the crash and the conditions of the people involved.
Now's a good time for a refresher about when to stop for school buses, since they're out on the roads in force nowadays. A bus stop, when it stops, a 2-lane road, you see it on the diagram here, all traffic in both directions has to stop. Same thing if you add a center lane to it. All the traffic stops when a bus is stopped on a 4-lane road without a median. On a divided highway with a median separating, only traffic following the bus must stop. That's the same situation with a road that has 4 or more lanes and a center turning lane.
Tonight at 6, is your child unknowingly being exposed to toxic chemicals in school? Leading scientists estimate chemicals known as PCBs can be found in 1 out of every 3 schools in the U.S. PCBs are linked to cancer and cognitive issues. Yet, unlike asbestos and lead, the state of North Carolina does not actively test for PCBs.
Why would you not preemptively protect people, children, teachers, staff, health?
Tonight at 6, only on WRAL, Keely Arthur will tell you how many older schools where these toxic chemicals are most likely to be found are in each district.
Here in the WRAL Live Center, we're learning that one of the state's top high school quarterbacks is suing the state over its name, image, and likeness prohibitions for public school athletes. The complaint was actually filed by Rolanda Brandon on behalf of her son. This is him here. Grimsley High School quarterback Faison Brandon. He was previously ranked as the #1 prospect in the nation and a Tennessee commit. The complaint alleges that the State Board of Education exceeded its authority to regulate the use of name, image, and likeness by public school athletes by instead prohibiting it altogether in June. The lawsuit asked the court to throw out the State Board's policy on NIL. Right now, they say no student participating in athletics shall enter into any agreement using the student's name, image, or likeness to make any money. Brandon did have a deal to make money by signing autographs.
We now have an update on the NASA mission that now resembles Gilligan's Island. Their 1-week tour to space is turning into a 9-month odyssey. This SpaceX gearing up for a mission now that will include a first for private spaceflight. NBC's Marissa Parra reports on the 2 missions.
SpaceX is suiting up for 2 key missions. The most critical, bringing home astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams.
NASA has decided that Butch and Sonny will return with Crew 9 next February.
The pair was only supposed to be on the International Space Station for about a week. They will now remain in space for nearly 9 months. The Boeing Starliner spacecraft that brought them to space set to return home without them because of a number of technical issues, including helium leaks and issues with the craft's thrusters, vital for re-entry. Boeing writing in a statement, "We continue to focus first and foremost on the safety of the crew and spacecraft."
Welcome to our simulator.
Back on Earth, the SpaceX Polaris Dawn team is on the eve of making history. Together, the private 4-person crew will travel 870 miles above Earth, the highest humans have gone since the last moon mission over 50 years ago.
You guys excited to get out of here?
Coda and Savannah sat down with the Polaris Dawn crew back in May.
And so you're going to be outside of the spacecraft, walking around for a couple of hours.
The background is training the astronauts across all of our Dragon missions, and now I have an opportunity with this crew to go and test out a brand new spacesuit and really expand the capabilities of Dragon.
Sarah Gillis is one of the 2 who will perform the first ever commercial spacewalk, expected to last about 2 hours. An ambitious move that former shuttle commander Eileen Collins says comes with risks.
When you go outside, you are exposing yourself to some small orbital debris, like little pieces of dust that go zinging around.
But for Dragon Commander Jared Isaacman, that risk is worth the rewards.
Being a fly on the wall to the history that SpaceX is making is just as good as flying the mission itself.
Up next, your zip code may determine your dementia diagnosis. We'll explain the study that shows why that can come into play.
Plus, transitioning into the school routine may also mean enforcing limits on screen time. Why it's important to model it and be the example as a parent. Our team is working to bring you exclusive stories for coverage you'll find only on WRAL. Visit WRAL.com and search only.
Bird flu is now spreading among cows. That can threaten the dairy industry as well as prices for cow products at grocery stores. Researchers in Iowa are working to find out how avian flu keeps spreading to other animals and how to prevent that. The American Veterinary Medical Association reports the virus has affected 64 herds in the country since it was discovered in cows in March.
This avian influenza virus, which would normally stay in birds, has gone into more than 20 different mammalian species, more than 100 times in 2 years.
Researchers are working on a vaccine for cows to potentially reduce the risk of the virus from spreading to humans. The CDC reports there are many instances of humans getting bird flu from infected cows.
A new round of free COVID tests is coming soon. The Biden administration says the tests will be available in late September. This all comes on the heels of a summer wave of COVID cases. Each household can order up to 4 nasal swab tests once the federal program reopens. The tests will detect current virus strains and can be ordered ahead of the holiday season. Where you live could determine when you're diagnosed with dementia and the treatment you could receive. According to researchers, people who live in Connecticut are 18% more likely to get an Alzheimer's or dementia diagnosis than those who live next door in Massachusetts. That's because healthcare systems in Connecticut may be doing a better job screening and diagnosing. Florida did not do as well. While all patients part of the study were using Medicare, researchers say differences exist between hospitals and specialists.
When it comes to screen time, it's no longer enough to tell children to do as I say, not as I do. How you can help your young scholar avoid falling into the trap of screen addiction. Plus,
AI can really come in and be a powerful tool in tracking where every learner is, in serving the role as a tutor.
How embracing AI in the classroom could help teachers deal with large class sizes while helping students excel.
embracing artificial intelligence in the classroom could be the key to improving how students learn. Teachers at some school systems are dealing with large class sizes, making it challenging for them to provide one-on-one help for students. AI could be used to create unique lesson plans to help students learn at their own pace, as well as help teachers manage each plan.
If a student has questions, it can guide them towards the correct answers rather than just giving it to them. So AI really gives us a power that we've really not been able to leverage to this point to really transform the very nature of the approach to education that we use.
Although there are ways AI to be used negatively, such as cheating, schools can curb that by enforcing policies for ethical use of technology.
With phones, tablets, and other devices, it may seem impossible to pull your kids away from their screens. But it's important to set limits, especially during the school year. One pediatrician says it's best to have set rules in place before kids get on their devices. If you've been relaxed with screen time over the summer, it's best to have a conversation about it right at the beginning of the school year.
Making it special so that
maybe you watch movies together on Friday nights, and that's how you use your screen time. And you maybe go outside and set up a projector screen, or you get popcorn, or you do something just to make it a little bit more special and a little bit more of a family activity.
It is important, parents, to lead by example. Remember to take breaks from your devices if you want your kids to do that as well.
A cartoonist in the Phoenix area spent the weekend taking part in an annual drawing marathon. This is the 9th year Russ Kazmazrik has held the 24-hour marathon at his comic book shop. The goal is to raise money for the national nonprofit foundation Kids Need to Read, which promotes childhood literacy.
It's one thing to scroll, but it's another thing to interact with the thing that's giving you the adventure that you're experiencing, that tactile, kinesthetic feeling of turning the page and being a part of the story yourself.
No word yet on how much was raised during that 24-hour event.
A 5.3 magnitude earthquake rocked a large part of Portugal early this morning. Take a look at this. CNN Portugal was on the air when that earthquake hit. You can see the camera shaking a bit, the anchors sort of bracing themselves in that studio in Lisbon. This was a scene in a different room of the CNN Portugal building. Security cameras there captured heavy shaking. An earthquake of its magnitude would have been felt at least moderately throughout most of that entire country, also in Spain as well. Look at that thing go. Scary scene inside their building, in their TV station.
I remember I was trying to think when the last time we did feel a rumble here at the station several years ago. I remember a lot of us were in a staff meeting. Elizabeth Gardner, do you remember when we kind of felt that tremor from the earthquake? I can put you on the spot. What year that was?
Oh, I don't remember, but I do remember it was a few years ago, not that long ago. It's something that we rarely see around here, which is great. I vividly remember visiting California about 20 years ago and being outside on a patio and an earthquake came through, and it was really something I'll always remember. It was it was one that you could definitely feel standing there and see everything shake. It was something else. Everything's nice and quiet, of course, here in the gardens this afternoon. It is definitely on the warm side. We're about to change our weather pattern. We started off this morning with temperatures below normal. We were in the 50s to begin with this morning, but high pressure is going to be building in from the west, and that high pressure system is going to bring with it some warmer air and also switch our wind direction to southerly, and that's going to help to bring more warmth and moisture into the area. So we're about to switch it back to some of that intense heat that we saw at the beginning of August. We'll see the bulk of the rain just up to our north, a little bit of smoky haze possible as we get through the afternoon. High pressure systems have sinking air. Sinking air compresses and warms, and so this high pressure system to our west comes with a very hot air mass as it slides eastward. And so that's the first thing we'll see. And then, of course, it will also shift our wind direction, and that will continue to pump humid air into our region. So looking at low 90s this afternoon, 91 in South Hill, 92 in Durham, 92 in Fayetteville, 91 in Goldsboro. And then overnight tonight, our temperatures will be a little warmer than they were this morning. We started off in the 50s. It was pretty pleasant. It does look like this will last through the holiday weekend. And then after that first full week of September, we may end up seeing some cooler air taking place back to our west that starts to filter in to our area. So this intense heat may not last too long. We are about to get into the time of year where we really see some big ups and downs. And we tend to see the last 90-degree day of the year on average around September the 12th. The latest that we've seen on record was October 10th. 2017. We hope it doesn't last that long, kind of pulling for that mid-September. All right, we're going to change gears as we head into the holiday weekend. It's still going to be on the hot side, upper 80s to low 90s. Humidity remains high, but a front moves in, and that's going to bump up our chance for rain. Take a look at Friday, and you can see the rain over North Carolina. You can see that front sliding eastward. It doesn't necessarily move all the way through, which is why we don't see a drop in our temperature, but it will bring enough lift in the atmosphere for a 50% chance of rain Friday, 60 on Saturday, and again on Sunday. So keep that in mind if you do have weekend plans. It's likely to be afternoon and evening thunderstorms, but a 60% chance on Saturday and Sunday is a decent chance. So keep that in mind as you're making plans. As we get a little bit closer, we get our high resolution models in a little later in the week. We'll really be able to focus the timing for you so you can plan around and still enjoy your holiday weekend. At least it'll be cooler, looking at 90 on Saturday and 87 on Sunday. But again, that may come with some clouds and some scattered showers and storms.
Thanks, Elizabeth. New Yorkers say you just can't visit Coney Island without riding the iconic Cyclone roller coaster.
But that'll be the case, at least for a little while now. Well, why that 97-year-old ride will remain parked for a while. We wrap things up now with a look at a few of the headlines we are following for you today.
The Nash County Sheriff identified the suspect and officers involved in a shooting that happened after a call for a domestic dispute. Lieutenant David Walker and Sergeant Miguel Salazar fired shots at James Brehine after he came from the back of the home armed with a pistol. Brehine is in stable condition at Wake Med. The SBI is investigating. The Chapel Hill Courthouse was vandalized over the weekend after a rally at Peace and Justice Plaza. The district attorney's office shared these photos of the graffiti on the front of the courthouse, which had threatening messages toward police. The town says crews have been working to remove the graffiti. If you know who was involved in the vandalism, you're asked to call police.
Wilson County students headed back to the classroom this morning after a tornado damaged a school last month. Despite 6th and 7th grade halls being destroyed at Springfield Middle, the school year did start as scheduled. School plans to use mobile units for some classrooms. Others will be moved into the 8th grade wing. A mid-ride malfunction is putting the brakes on a beloved roller coaster ride in New York. Brooklyn and Coney Island's iconic Cyclone roller coaster has been shut down indefinitely. The 97-year-old world-famous ride closed down after riders got stuck on it and had to be rescued Thursday. The ride's management company says the ride is being fixed and will reopen once it passes inspection.
Our pet of the day comes to us from Safe Haven for Cats. Meet Trenchcoat. Some might think it's a silly name for such a beautiful gal, but she is adorable and can't wait for someone to fall in love with her and take her home. Trenchcoat is a brown tabby tux who came to Safe Haven from one of their municipal shelter partners. You can view her profile along with profiles of other cats ready for adoption on the Safe Haven for Cats website, or you can make an appointment by calling the number right there on your screen.
Goat House Refuge is known for cage-free care. It's part of the Clear the Shelters to find loving homes for their feline residents. Goat House Refuge provides a safe haven for cats of all ages and medical conditions until they can be adopted into permanent homes. This Clear the Shelters event is a great opportunity to meet these special cats and support their mission. Visit Goat House Refuge to find your new furry friend and help make a difference. For more details, you can visit their website or stop by the sanctuary. As Wake County students head back to school tomorrow, a stretch of road near one high school will look a little bit different. Coming up at 4, we're looking at the recent improvements made to Walnut Street in Cary.
NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
You can get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Have a good Monday to start your week.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.